In this video, we're going to Mountainview Brewing in Hope to learn how to make a Blackberry Kettle sour. So let's go! Does this scenery look familiar to you? We're in Hope, British Columbia, and if you're a film buff, you'll know that this was the location of the first Rambo film, First Blood. My old classmate Adam Kyle opened his brewery, Mountainview Brewery, here in November 2020. They started producing beers they thought the local crowd would enjoy. These were more traditional beer styles like Pilsners and lager beers. The brewery got a reputation for producing high ABV beers, 7 to 8% ABV. But later they got requests for lower ABV beers and started to make more experimental fruity beers as well. Today we're making a Blackberry Kettle sour. We start by grinding the malts, and we have 175 kilograms of two-row, a little wheat to give body, 75 kilograms of extra special British pale malt, and a little bit of Cara aroma malts. The mash tun will be heated up by adding 80 liters of hot liquor, which is hot water. When that has been drained out, 220 liters of foundation water at 78 degrees Celsius is added in. Mashing in will now begin, and the brewing salts will be added midway during mashing in. The brewing salt additions are 250 grams of gypsum, 350 grams of calcium chloride, and 107 grams of lactic acid. These will help to lower the pH of the mash. In total, 670 liters of hot liquor will be added during mashing in. After a 40-minute wait, they begin to recirculate the wort, or vorloff, for 20 minutes. Afterwards, they begin to transfer into the kettle and start the sparge water, which is 82 degrees Celsius.
I'll find myself in another place. I'll find myself in another place, deciding who's fighting the sun. But then again, I see my friends speaking about these dividends.
They use 1,235 liters of sparge water in total, and it takes about 60 minutes to transfer the wort over into the kettle. Once the wort is fully transferred over, the pump is turned on. It runs through what they call a sour loop to pasteurize the wort. The wort travels from the bottom of the kettle through the pump and through the filter to remove trub, and then through a heat exchanger and then back into the kettle. In this way, the wort is mixed to prevent thermal stratification. And thermal stratification is when there are relatively stable, warmer and colder layers within the same body of liquid. So to avoid these layers of liquid with different temperatures, the wort is mixed to ensure that the temperature throughout is the same. When the brewer takes a temperature reading of the wort, he can be sure that the temperature he's measuring is correct and not false, because he's taken a reading from a hot spot or a cold spot in the wort. The wort is then pasteurized for 15 minutes at 75 degrees Celsius. Pasteurizing the wort will kill any unwanted yeast or bacteria that are presently in the wort. After the pasteurization, the wort is cooled down to 39 degrees Celsius, and then they pitch in the lactobacillus to bring down the pH. The lactobacillus bacteria will eat up the sugars that are present in the wort and produce lactic acid. This acid will make our wort sour. This souring stage takes 12 hours. The wort is soured in the kettle rather than in the fermenter, so that there's no risk of lactobacillus getting into the lines, the tanks, and the gasket. Also, the duration of time in the fermenter is unpredictable, so this is why they choose to sour the beer in the kettle rather than in the fermenter. Another reason we add the lactobacillus in the kettle and not the fermenter is because we want to keep our lines clear. So to lower the chance of the lactobacillus bacteria contaminating our other beer styles, we sour in the kettle rather than in the fermenter. Since the souring stage takes 12 hours, now is a good time to clear the spent grain from the mash tun.
You were Generation XY, I was me, full of Z's.
After allowing the wort to sour, magnum hops are added and a 60-minute boil is performed. The hops are added after the lactobacillus has had time to sour the wort, because most species of lactobacillus bacteria are sensitive to hops, in that hops inhibit the growth of lactobacillus. During the boil, a calandria is used, and the calandria is a tube with a cone on top, which helps spread out the wort. The coils inside are heated up. The wort moves up through the coils and is heated and spreads out over the top. The purpose of the calandria is to get a better boil-off rate since you're increasing the wort surface area, so you can boil off more undesirable volatiles from the wort, like DMS. After 150 to 200 liters of wort has been boiled off, the wort is whirlpooled to encourage the trub to settle down and separate out from the liquid. The wort goes through a heat exchanger and enters the fermenter at 18 degrees Celsius. The yeast is also pitched in during this time. The beer is allowed to ferment for 4 to 5 days until the gravity is close to 5 Plato, after which the yeast is taken off the bottom and 160 kilograms of blackberry puree is added to the fermenter. The puree will sit in the fermenter for another 4 to 5 days before the fermenter is cold crashed for 2 to 3 days. And cold crashing is when the temperature is brought down, and this is to allow the berry puree and other solids in the fermenter to fall to the bottom of the fermenter due to the sudden drop in temperature. Fruit is a natural addition to a kettle sour. In this case, we're adding blackberries, which are naturally tart. So the blackberries will accentuate the sourness of the beer and also create a nice sweet and juicy element. A lot of breweries make their beers very sour, whereas the sourness here is fairly moderate. There's a juiciness, lightness, and sweetness to balance out the tartness. As well, darker crystal malt was used to give this beer a graininess, which is meant to complement the blackberry taste. I hope you enjoyed seeing how a blackberry kettle sour was made. In the meantime, please support the channel by giving this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more brewing and distilling videos. This is Brewbird, sending good vibes your way. I'll see you next time!
I'll find myself